You're right, they will all be positive. You can't really be sure until you really start thinking of the numbers here, but yeah, they will all be positive. Which ones thinks are, yeah, which gauge do you think is going to give us the biggest positive value? 1 and 6. 1 and 6, because they're in the direction of the biggest stress, we're still getting the, well, let's just think about again, gauge 1 and gauge 6, we're expecting to give similar readings, if not the same readings. So let's just think about gauge 1. What's affecting the strain in gauge 1? What's causing strain in that gauge? The hoop stress
and axial.
And the axial. The hoop stress is causing what kind of strain in that gauge? A positive tensile strain. That hoop stress is causing that gauge to stretch, get bigger. But the axial stress is affecting that gauge as well. What's the axial stress causing that gauge to do?
Also positive. I think positive.
Oh. Just pull it that way.
Axial stress causing that gauge to expand or contract? Contract. If you stretch this cylinder this way, you forget a moment for the hoop stress is there. The axial stress causes the cylinder to stretch that way. It causes it to contract that way.
Oh, and that there. Okay, yes. Yeah, and that way. Yeah.
So the hoop stress is making that gauge stretch. The axial stress is making that gauge contract. So if you just think about it in those terms, you can't be sure whether this is going to give a positive, a negative, or possibly even a reading of 0. You've actually got to start thinking about these numbers here to figure out whether it should be positive, negative, or 0. It is going to be positive. Can anyone tell me what the relationship would have to be between these two stresses for this to read a value of 0? Yeah, one has to be a third of the other. Which of these stresses has to be 3 times bigger than the other if that was going to read something about 0? Yeah, if this stress here was 3 times bigger than this one, you should find that that would give a reading very close to 0. But that's certainly not the case here. Not only is an axial stress not 3 times bigger, it's 2 times smaller. So we should definitely be expecting a positive value here. Basically, if the axial stress is less than 3 times bigger than the hoop stress, this should be given a positive reading. If the axial stress is more than 3 times bigger than the hoop stress, this should give a negative reading. If it was exactly 3 times bigger, this would give a reading of 0, but it's a lot smaller. It's a lot smaller, so we'd expect this to be giving a positive reading. There's positive strain being caused by that, there is negative strain being caused by that, but not only is that negative strain a third of the strain in that direction, that stress is a half of this one. So I'm going to try and make a prediction, hopefully you can kind of follow what I'm basing this prediction on. When we pressurised this in the open end setup to about half a meganewton per metre squared, we were getting a reading of about 100 for this gauge. If the hoop stress is giving me plus 100 strain in this direction, can anyone give me a kind of value for the negative strain caused by the axial stress? So I'm saying this hoop stress is giving us plus 100. I'm asking what value of strain this axial stress is going to give us.
50.
No. Because you've not taken into account Poisson's ratio. You've taken into account the fact that stress is half the size, but you've not taken into account that that stress causes a strain in that direction, a certain amount, but then the strain in that direction is a third of the strain in that direction.
50, 50-ish.
Yeah, I would say it's about a sixth. It's basically a third of a half. Hopefully you can see why I'm saying I think it's about a third of a half.
Yeah.
It's half the stress, but we're looking at the strain in the other direction. So then you've got to take into account Poisson's ratio. So basically, if I'm saying this is plus 100 because of this, I'm reckoning about minus 15, minus 16 because of that. And when we do this, we'll hopefully get a value that's about 80, maybe not 85 or 84, exactly that, but hopefully 80 something, which kind of suggests, you can kind of roughly see what's happening here, hopefully. So our prediction for that one may be about 80, 85, something like that, if we pressurise it to half a meganewton per metre squared. Let's go with the other principal one. We've said this one's going to be positive. Got to think carefully here, positive or negative, or about 0. Positive. It will be positive But what do we know about the size of this positive strain compared to the size of this one? Which is going to be giving us more positive strain? Gauge 1. This will still give us positive strain,